The so-called free speech president is once again attacking, you guessed it, free speech.
So Mehdi Hasan just got FCC Commissioner Ana Gomez on his show to blow the whistle on Trump's systematic assault on free speech. This isn't just about Jimmy Kimmel, it's about weaponizing government agencies to silence critics. When an FCC insider speaks out, we need to listen.
Donald Trump, for the second time, is calling on Disney to fire late-night ABC host Jimmy Kimmel, this time after he joked that Melania Trump had a glow like an expectant widow. You gotta laugh. The FCC under Trump's direction is now also formally reviewing Disney's broadcast licenses before they're even set to expire.
This crosses a bright constitutional line. Government officials can't use federal agencies to retaliate against political satire. That's textbook First Amendment violation. The Supreme Court established in Bantam Books that government threats to punish speech are just as unconstitutional as direct censorship.
So this is all a pattern with this administration that simply cannot tolerate any critics. Or any voices with which it disagrees. And so it is trying to weaponize any authority it has control of in order to retaliate, to intimidate, and to censor anyone that speaks out against this administration.
Notice how powerful this testimony is coming from inside the agency itself. Commissioner Gomez isn't some outside critic. She's witnessing firsthand how the FCC is being weaponized. When career regulators blow the whistle on their own agency, that's institutional breakdown in real time.
That's exactly the right question to ask, because the FCC only licenses the local broadcast stations. And the reason that it licenses them is because local broadcasters use spectrum in order to air their programming. It's been doing this for close to 100 years. It's less than that, but close. So what the FCC, the only FCC power is over these local broadcasters.
Trump found a clever loophole here. The FCC can't directly regulate ABC News, but they can terrorize Disney by threatening their local stations. It's regulatory extortion. Comply with our political demands or lose your broadcast licenses nationwide.
And so in order to intimidate the parent company, which is Disney, what the FCC has done is it is now looking at the renewal of the licenses of these 8 broadcast stations. It's important to note that, first of all, renewals weren't coming due until at a minimum 2 years and at most up to 5 years from now. So this is an early renewal process. This is unprecedented. It's unlawful. It is, against the First Amendment. In fact, I have called this, and it is true, an egregious assault on the First Amendment, because it's a political stunt and it is bound to fail.
Early license renewal is nuclear in broadcast regulation. It only happens for serious violations. Doing it for political satire is unprecedented authoritarian overreach. This is exactly how ORBAN captured Hungarian media, weaponized licensing to force compliance.
Let's just double check that, because every time I get into a back and forth with Brendan Carr on social media, and he and I have had a couple of moments, he suggests, well, the Democrats did this too. The Biden administration, the Obama administration, they targeted Fox, they targeted Sinclair, they targeted conservative media outlets. You're saying that's false?
You're being intentionally misled. We did not see the last administration threaten to pull licenses. That is not true. In this case, we are seeing the president down through the cabinet wanting to get rid of any reporters, any broadcast stations, and to intimidate all these companies into broadcasting the way that they want to. You didn't see that in the last administration, and so that's just a false equivalent.
The false equivalence here is crucial. Democrats never threaten broadcast licenses over content they didn't like. That's the constitutional line Trump crossed. Previous administrations had heated rhetoric with media, but using federal licensing power for retaliation is genuinely unprecedented.
I think it's important to note that whether we like a joke or not, it is not for the FCC to take action, because that is exactly what the First Amendment is meant to protect against. If you don't like the content of a joke, you don't have to watch it. And especially in today's market, where we are reaching you not through a broadcast station, but rather through the internet, there is a lot of content out there that you can choose to see or to not see. and part of the reason that I avoid talking about specific content is because it is exactly the kind of jawboning that is decidedly against the First Amendment and that can chill speech.
Government jawboning, using official pressure to chill speech, violates the First Amendment even without formal action. The Supreme Court ruled in Bantam Books that government threats create a chilling effect that silences protected speech before it happens.
So on that note, I want to read to you a tweet, which I'm sure you've seen, from Brendan Carr when he was not the chair of the FCC, but was on the FCC under President Biden in 2022. He said, President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship. I mean, those words today, hilarious to read them now. Brendan Carr won't do an interview with me. I've asked him a few times. Have you asked him about this tweet and why he's changed his position, diametrically opposed his own previous view?
Carr's 2022 tweet defending political satire makes this even more damning. He understood the constitutional principles perfectly when Democrats were in power. His complete reversal proves this is pure partisan weaponization, not principled regulation.
Is the FCC today, right now, as we speak, independent of the Trump administration? In practice, not in theory.
Okay, because under the Communications Act, we're still an independent agency.
But are you behaving independently?
Just to be clear, this administration has declared that we are not an independent agency. And
Brendan Carr has agreed with that.
This is being litigated in court. This is right now at the Supreme Court under the Slaughter versus Trump case, which is, Rebecca Slaughter was the FTC commissioner that the president fired last year. And that is right now being considered at the Supreme Court. There is a legal theory that we cannot be an independent agency. And whether that decision applies to the FCC, in the end, the reason why we should be independent is what's important.
With respect, I understand the legal arguments. I'm asking you as a commissioner, for our viewers watching, especially American viewers, should they have confidence that the FCC that you're part of is behaving independently these days?
We are clearly not behaving independently.
When independent agencies become partisan weapons, constitutional governance dies. The FCC, FTC, and other agencies exist precisely to be insulated from political pressure. Gomez is describing the systematic capture of regulatory independence.
Everything is now going through review at the White House. Everything that the commission does, that the commissions vote on, which is new. That is not something that was happening before. We are basically implementing the agenda of this administration and praising this administration for anything that we do. So clearly we are not acting as an independent agency.
White House review of FCC decisions destroys agency independence by design. These agencies were created to regulate without political interference. When everything flows through the White House, regulation becomes purely partisan. Exactly what the framers feared.
So what we have is an administration using the FCC to go after freedom of the press and the freedom of speech. And that is unconstitutional. And it is something that it will fail when it gets to court. And so Disney has said that they will fight this. They must fight this. And the reason they must fight this is because if they do, they will win. If they don't, then what they are doing is surrendering the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press.
The irony is stunning. We're depending on Disney's corporate lawyers to defend the Constitution because our government institutions have been captured. When corporations become the last line of defense for free speech, democracy is in serious trouble.
Listening to you speak about the way the White House reviews your stuff and you're not behaving independently, et cetera, it sounds like, Orban is gone, but it sounds like we're in what was Orban's Hungary, in the sense that an authoritarian country where the government can control regulation in the media, control content, and gets pissed off when a comedian makes a joke about the ruler.
Well, like I said, this is an administration-wide strategy of censorship and control. We see it at the Department of Defense. We see it at the Federal Trade Commission. We see it at the White House. We see it at the FCC. And that is use any lever of power that you have to get coverage and content that you like. Prefer your billionaire buddies in transactions and go and scrutinize anyone that you don't like. So this is clearly an issue with this administration, and it is something that we all need to push back on.
The Orban comparison is spot on. Hungary captured media through regulatory pressure exactly like this. Weaponize licensing, threaten advertisers, make criticism economically unsustainable. Multiple captured agencies create comprehensive information control.
We have Senator Cruz also
Yes.
pushing back because he sees what a threat this is to the First Amendment.
Yes, and multiple previous Republican FCC chairs have criticized Brendan Carr and Donald Trump.
When Ted Cruz and former Republican FCC chairs are criticizing this overreach, you know it's crossed every constitutional line. This isn't partisan politics. It's defending basic First Amendment principles that transcend party loyalty.
Commissioner Gomez, I know you are a lonely voice on that commission right now. We appreciate you speaking out. We appreciate you coming on the show to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gomez's courage in speaking out deserves recognition. She's risking her career to defend the Constitution. This testimony proves that inside every captured agency, there are still patriots willing to blow the whistle on authoritarian overreach.